Right now, over at the COMEX trading desks in New York, the professionals are moving, not hesitantly, not with caution. They're rearranging their positions in a way this market hasn't witnessed for years. Let me tell you what grabbed me this week. The silver held across Shanghai's two main venues, the Shanghai Futures Exchange and the Shanghai Gold Exchange, has cratered. We're looking at inventories falling from something like 5,500 tons down to just above 1,100 tons. That's a 91% emptying of the vaults, 91%, and that figure didn't come from some obscure subscription letter buried in the corner of the internet. It came straight from the exchange's own published records. A 91% combined silver vault drain in Shanghai. When a number like that lands in front of you, your gut might tell you to wave it off. China burns through silver constantly. They build everything for everyone. Fair enough. But this moment carries a heavier meaning. Because across the ocean, inside the COMEX warehouses in New York, the exact same tale is being told from a completely different vantage point. And when two of the planet's biggest exchanges start flashing the identical warning light at the same moment, you have to pause and ask one plain question. Where is all this silver disappearing to? And what unfolds when the shelves finally run bare? That's precisely what we're unpacking today. Stick around, because when we're done, you'll grasp something the majority of market pundits are either overlooking or purposely dodging. Let's begin with China, because that's where the strain is stacking up first. For a long stretch, China played the role of net exporter of refined silver. They dug it out, processed it, and sent it around the globe. A large share of that metal wound up in London or in vaults approved by COMEX. That was the current. It was reliable. Traders in New York could bank on that supply channel remaining wide open. That channel has tightened enormously. China's own silver appetite at home has climbed to heights that even the boldest industrial projections failed to see coming. And the reasons aren't a puzzle, they're staring us in the face. Solar panel production, electric vehicle assembly, 5G network rollout, robotics, aerospace, and defense uses. Every one of those industries needs silver. Not as a decorative touch, not as a hedge against inflation, but as a core industrial ingredient that you simply can't swap out for something cheaper. Let me sharpen the point, because the solar angle by itself is jaw-dropping. China set up more solar capacity last year than the entire rest of the planet put together, and each gigawatt of that capacity demands silver for the photovoltaic cells. The Silver Institute has been charting this pattern for years. The worldwide silver market has sat in a structural shortfall since 2021, and a huge slice of that shortfall traces back to the runaway expansion in solar manufacturing, the bulk of which is packed inside China's borders. Here's where the story bends in a direction that ought to worry anyone holding silver or weighing whether to. Reports moving through the metals trade suggest China has acted to curb or freeze its silver exports. Analysts are still arguing over how far these limits reach, but the fallout is already plain in the warehouse figures. Shanghai's pooled exchange holdings are sitting at their thinnest in more than 10 years. That figure of roughly 133 tons, around 36 million ounces, is a sliver of what filled those vaults just a handful of years back. Chew on what that means in the real world. China refines more silver than anyone. If they're parking that silver at home, rather than sending it off to London or New York, the whole global supply equation shifts at its foundation. This isn't a hypothetical worry anymore. It's stamped into the data as we speak. The Shanghai premium spells out the desperation inside China better than anything else. For months now, silver on the Shanghai venues has changed hands at a hefty markup over the COMEX price. That premium, sometimes pegged as high as $15 to $20 an ounce above the Western benchmark, works like a magnet. It hauls physical metal toward the east. When a gap like that lingers, it signals that buyers in China want the metal so badly they'll pay well over the world rate. That's not guesswork. That's raw hunger showing itself in the price difference between two exchanges. Now let's hop across the Pacific and study what's brewing inside the COMEX machine. COMEX is the leading futures venue for silver in the United States. It's where the reference price gets nailed down. Bolted onto that exchange is a web of sanctioned depositories, vaults around New York, where physical silver sits to underpin those futures contracts. 2 buckets of metal live in those vaults. Registered silver, the metal that's been specifically tagged and cleared for delivery against contracts. An eligible silver metal that sits in storage meeting COMEX standards but hasn't been officially put up for delivery. The registered bucket is the one that counts most for gauging delivery pressure. If someone owns a futures contract and insists on physical metal, it's the registered pile that shrinks. Earlier this year, COMEX registered silver stood at about 88.79 million ounces. That was already a steep fall from its high points, but the wider view is even more startling. Total COMEX silver, registered and eligible lumped together, topped out near 532 million ounces in October 2025. By May of this year, that figure had slid to roughly 312 million ounces. That's a drop of about 220 million ounces in a mere 7 months. Let me repeat that because it deserves to land. 220 million ounces of silver walked out of COMEX vaults in 7 months. That metal traveled somewhere. A portion floated to London to shore up the float there. Some got handed over to meet contract commitments, and some drifted east, chasing the premium Shanghai was dangling. The speed of that drain is what has COMEX traders uneasy, because futures markets are built on trust. They run on the faith that if you hold a contract and you want your metal, the metal will be waiting. When stockpiles fall this fast, that faith gets tested. Not shattered, not yet, but tested. And here's the piece most folks skip over. The link between open interest and available metal is the true pressure gauge. Open interest is the full count of outstanding futures contracts that haven't been closed or settled. When open interest runs high while inventory sinks, it means more paper claims are hunting less physical metal. That balance, paper promises against deliverable silver, ranks among the most closely tracked figures for seasoned silver traders. And at the moment, it's stretched to a degree we haven't witnessed in a very long time. The McLeod Finance work turned up something striking here. As silver's price rocketed through late 2025 and into 2026, COMEX open interest actually caved, dipping under 100,000 contracts at one stage. That might seem backwards. Price climbs, yet open interest sinks. What it reveals is that the short side of the market, the traders wagering against silver or hedging future output, were being squeezed out. They were shutting down positions because they couldn't hold them against a climbing price and thinning inventory. When the shorts bail, it strips a layer of selling pressure off the market, and that reshapes the road ahead in ways most everyday investors never fully register. I want to linger on the Shanghai COMEX spread for a few minutes because it's one of the sharpest signals in the silver world right now, and mainstream financial TV almost never breathes a word about it. Under ordinary circumstances, silver prices in Shanghai and on COMEX trade within a tight range of each other. Once you account for currency, import duties, taxes, and shipping, that range usually runs $1 or $2, sometimes less. When that spread bursts wide open, when Shanghai starts pricing silver dramatically above New York, it's telling you something basic about the physical market. It's telling you that Asian demand is outrunning the metal on hand, and that the usual east-west flow is buckling under strain. Earlier this year, reports from several corners, including data followed by analysts at Seeking Alpha and the Silver Academy, showed the Shanghai COMEX spread stretching to record widths. Some accounts pointed to a premium as broad as $20 an ounce on the Shanghai side, a reported $15 to $20 Shanghai premium over COMEX per ounce. Now picture what a $20 spread means in practice. If silver trades at a given level on COMEX and it's $20 richer in Shanghai, that spawns a massive arbitrage lure. Every trader, every refiner, every bullion bank on earth eyes that gap and lands on the same thought. Buy the silver in New York, ship it to Shanghai, pocket the spread, and that's exactly what's been going on. Physical silver has streamed from west to east at a quickening clip. London vaults have thinned, COMEX vaults have thinned, private storage sites across Europe have bled metal. The fact that the Shanghai premium has held, that it hasn't been arbitraged into oblivion, tells you something profound. It tells you the silver on hand in the West can't fully quench the demand pulling from the East. Yes, the metal is moving, but not fast enough or in big enough loads to seal the gap, and every ounce that shifts from COMEX to Shanghai is one fewer ounce ready for delivery against contracts in New York. Every ounce leaving London is one fewer ounce in the global float. The metal isn't being wiped out. It's being devoured by Chinese solar makers, by electronics shops, by EV battery plants at a pace that outstrips what miners can dig up. This isn't a passing supply stumble. The Silver Institute has recorded that the global silver market has run a deficit for 5 years straight now. Each year, the world eats more silver than it mines and recycles, and each year the piled-up shortage swells. The Shanghai premium is the market's way of shouting that this deficit is genuine and worsening. COMEX traders catch that shout loud and clear, even if CNBC keeps quiet. There's another gauge that veteran precious metals watchers know cold, and it's been broadcasting its own message lately, the gold-silver ratio. For anyone new to this, the ratio simply tells you how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold. When the ratio sits high, say 80 or 90 to 1, silver is relatively cheap next to gold. When it drops, say to 50 or 55 to 1, silver has been gaining ground. The modern norm hovers around 68 to 1. Through much of 2024, the ratio ran elevated, drifting up near 88 to 1 by late in the year. That signaled silver was deeply cheap against gold by historical measures. Then the winds changed. As the silver crunch deepened and industrial demand exploded, the ratio started shrinking. By January 2026, when silver was carving out fresh all-time highs, the ratio had squeezed to about 55 to 1. A few accounts even flagged readings near 46 to 1, ground not touched since 2011 during the last big silver run. More recently, the ratio has crept back into the low 60s. Figures from goldsilver.com show it bottoming at 53.6 in mid-May before widening to about 65.2 by early June and settling near the 62 to 63 zone in mid-June. Why does this matter? because the direction of the ratio tells you which metal the market thinks holds more upside, and when the ratio slides, money is pouring into silver quicker than into gold. When that plays out against everything we've just laid out, Shanghai vault drains, COMEX inventory drops, stubborn Eastern premiums, and a structural deficit, it sketches a picture that's tough to brush aside. Gold has been shining brilliantly on its own. Central bank buying has been ceaseless. De-dollarization stories keep fueling sovereign hunger for gold. But silver carries an extra motor that gold lacks. Silver is an industrial metal. More than half of all silver demand flows from industrial uses, and that industrial pull is expanding at a rate that keeps shoving the market deeper into deficit. The ratio bounces around, it always does. But the larger drift, silver clawing ground against gold, lines up with a market where the physical squeeze is real and clamping down. So let's turn to the COMEX traders themselves, because reading their behavior right now is essential. Several groups play in the COMEX silver arena. You've got the commercial traders, the bullion banks, the refiners, the producers. They usually lean short, hedging their coming output or stockpiles. Then there's the managed money crowd, hedge funds, commodity trading advisors, algorithm-driven desks. They tend to be more speculative, swinging long or short off momentum and positioning cues. What the commitment of traders reports have been showing lately is a shrinking of commercial short bets. That's meaningful. The commercials have long acted as the ceiling on silver rallies. When silver surges, they load up on shorts to cap the climb. That routine has replayed for decades on COMEX. But when those commercial shorts begin covering, when the heavyweight institutions ease off their bearish wagers, it clears away a major drag on the price. And the data hints that's precisely what's unfolding. Some analysts read this as the commercials waking up to the fact that shorting silver into a physical squeeze is growing riskier. If you're short silver and someone calls for delivery, you'd better have the metal or hunt it down. And hunting down physical silver is turning tougher and pricier. The managed money side, meanwhile, has been swinging back and forth. After silver's sharp climb through late 2025 and early 2026, some hedge funds cashed out. Silver eased off its peaks. The gold-silver ratio widened as that pullback ran its course. But the underlying structural case never budged. The deficit didn't vanish. The Shanghai premium didn't close. The COMEX drain didn't flip. And that builds a setup that seasoned metals traders recognize on sight. When speculative money grabs profits and the price dips, yet the fundamental supply picture stays tight, it forms what some call a coiled spring. The market is packing energy. The speculative foam has been rinsed away. The shaky hands have cleared out. The physical demand rolls on unbroken. The traders who understand this, and plenty of them sit right on the COMEX floor or behind institutional desks, are studying the same warehouse data you and I are. They see the Shanghai premium. They follow the delivery reports. They keep tabs on the registered inventory. And their positioning shows an awareness that the easy short trade in silver is morphing into a hazardous one. Let me pull back and dig into why the demand side of this whole thing is so unyielding. Because if you only stare at the financial market numbers, you miss the real engine powering all of this. Silver isn't merely a precious metal. It's arguably the most flexible industrial metal on the planet. It boasts the highest electrical conductivity of any element, the highest thermal conductivity, the highest reflectivity. Those aren't marketing lines, they're physical traits that render silver impossible to replace in a swelling list of uses. Solar is the loudest driver. Every photovoltaic cell, every panel on every roof, and every solar field on every slope holds silver. And while the industry has trimmed the silver per cell through thinner paste and fresh cell designs, the sheer count of panels going up is growing far quicker than the per unit cut. The upshot is that total solar silver demand keeps rising. China alone claimed the lion's share of global panel production last year. Their home installations broke records, and their shipments of panels to Europe, to Southeast Asia, to the Middle East, all of it eats silver. Then there's the electric vehicle space. EVs devour far more silver than gas-powered cars. The electrical contacts, the battery management systems, the charging networks, silver runs all through the chain. Fifth-generation wireless, or 5G, calls for silver in its parts and circuitry. Artificial intelligence hardware, the servers, the data centers, the high-speed links, many lean on silver-based thermal compounds and electrical contacts. Military and aerospace uses are climbing too. Silver-based alloys go into missile guidance, satellite parts, and cutting-edge radar. These are places where substitution isn't on the table. You can't slot in copper or aluminum when failure means a satellite goes dark or a weapon misses. Stack all these demand streams together and weigh them against global mine output, which has stayed roughly flat for years, and you land on the structural deficit the Silver Institute has been sounding the alarm about. Demand overshoots supply and the gap won't shut. That deficit is what lends the Shanghai premium its staying power. That deficit is what fuels the COMEX inventory slide. That deficit is what makes this juncture in the silver market fundamentally unlike past rallies driven purely by speculation or interest rate bets. This one is industrial. This one is structural, and it's picking up speed. Now, I want to be straight with you because credibility means more to me than hype. There are risks and unknowns in this picture that deserve to be named. First, silver stays a volatile beast. It always has. Corrections in silver can be brutal and sudden. We already tasted that this year. After topping out earlier in 2026, silver slid back hard. If you can't stomach a 15 or 20% drop, silver will wear on your nerves. That's just the character of this metal. Second, the exact live spot price of silver as I record this couldn't be pinned to the penny from a real-time exchange feed. Silver has swung across a broad band throughout 2026, from above the earlier all-time highs to lower corrective levels more recently. Rather than toss out a wrong figure, I'll say this. Check the COMEX close. Check the London fix. Check your favorite live data source for the freshest price. The directional read and the structural supply story we've walked through don't hinge on any single day's close. Third, the Shanghai premium data can be hard to confirm in real time from outside China. The figures I've cited come from widely circulated analysis by respected metals analysts and financial outlets, but numbers can differ by source, by contract month, by the currency conversion applied. The directional takeaway, that Shanghai is pricing silver at a serious markup over Western benchmarks, is backed by multiple independent sources, but the precise figures should be treated as ballpark. Fourth, China's silver export stance stays somewhat murky. Official statements and formal ban paperwork aren't always out in the open. What we know springs from trade flow data, warehouse shifts, and industry reporting. The result, sharply reduced silver flow from China westward, is obvious in the data. The exact policy lever behind it carries some fog. Fifth, there's always the chance a global slowdown could soften industrial demand. If China's factories cool, if solar installs stall, if EV uptake levels off, that would loosen the deficit. It hasn't happened. But the risk is real, and anyone acting on this analysis should weigh it in. Here's what I find most remarkable about where we stand, and it's the piece almost nobody is talking about. We have two of the world's biggest silver exchanges, Shanghai and COMEX, both flashing the same stress signal at once. Inventories draining, premiums widening, delivery demand rising, short positions shrinking, industrial consumption accelerating, and global mine supply essentially frozen. In earlier silver cycles, the rallies often rode on a single factor, or monetary policy, or a short squeeze bottled up on one exchange. Those moves tended to be sharp but fleeting, because the underlying supply-demand balance wasn't truly broken. This time is different. The deficit isn't speculative, it's industrial. It isn't a cluster of hedge funds trying to corner the market. It's hundreds of solar factories across China, thousands of EV assembly lines, millions of 5G base stations, and a global energy shift that hungers for more silver than the planet currently produces. And here's the twist I want to leave with you. The loudest signal might not be the warehouse drains or the Shanghai premium or the gold-silver ratio squeeze. The loudest signal might be what isn't happening. Mining firms aren't standing up new silver mines anywhere near the pace needed to seal the deficit. Why? Because most silver comes out as a byproduct of mining for other metals: copper, lead, zinc, gold. Genuine primary silver mines are scarce, and the clock to bring a new mine from discovery to production usually runs 7 to 12 years once you fold in permitting, environmental review, and construction. That means even if silver prices hold high for years, the mining industry's supply answer will crawl. Painfully slow, the deficit draining Shanghai's vaults and pulling down COMEX's stockpiles has no quick patch on the supply side. The market is spelling this out through every data point we've covered today. Shanghai is telling you, COMEX is telling you, the gold-silver ratio is telling you, the commercial positioning is telling you. The only question left is whether you're listening. I don't make forecasts. I don't hand out price targets. What I do is lay the data and the structural forces out as plainly as I can and let you reach your own verdict. And the data right now is speaking at full volume. 2 continents, 2 exchanges, 1 message. Physical silver is getting harder to locate, costlier to source, and more vital to the technologies shaping the coming decade. And the traders steering real money, not social media voices, not newsletter scribes, but the ones parked behind Bloomberg terminals with actual capital on the line, they're watching intently. I think you ought to as well. If this breakdown was worth your time, take a second to subscribe to the channel. I roll out market analysis like this regularly, and I zero in on the structural picture, the data and forces that genuinely steer markets over the long haul, not the daily static. Drop a comment below and tell me what you're spotting in the silver market from where you sit. Are you tracking the Shanghai numbers? Have you clocked the COMEX drawdowns? I read every comment, and the conversations on this channel are some of the sharpest you'll find anywhere. Tap that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. There's plenty more to dig into in the weeks ahead. Thanks for watching.